The roster turnover is hot and heavy in Auburn. Jackson Arnold is now an Auburn Tiger. Walker White has entered the portal. A new running back has been added to the room. There's lots to talk about on this live edition of the Up-Tempo podcast. Good morning, Auburn family. Good morning, Up-Tempo gang. Dustin Smith and Blake Lane are coming back at you guys with a Sunday morning edition of the Up-Tempo podcast. And damn it, Blake, I just wish we had something to talk about today.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of talk about. Man, what a weekend! What a action-packed weekend for the Auburn Tigers. Right there, a lot went on. We beat the absolute piss out of Ohio State in basketball yesterday.
Yes, we did.
You get your new quarterback. You had a fan favorite enter the portal. You pick up a running back. You lose Jarquez and you pick up a running back who had a pretty good year at UConn, and you pick up a punter. Right, I think that's a big deal. So you lose Oscar, and you had to go get a guy that could maybe flip the field for you. And so it's been a lot of motion, a lot of movement. And I think we got a big-time episode in front of us, Dustin.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry for stumbling on that intro, guys. That coffee didn't go down quite right. But I'm jacked up, man. I'm ready to talk about it. Blake, we know where the discussion is going to go. It's going to go towards the guy we have on the thumbnail, Mr. Jackson Arnold. Had a quarterback unexpectedly enter the portal yesterday, but there were some other additions that we touched on right there. We want to get them out the way real quick, and they're important. UConn running back Darrell Robinson transfers to Auburn, 731 yards last year, 8 touchdowns, 6'1", 200 pounds is his measurables. Like you said, Jarquez is out of there, so you kind of had to add a guy, and the ULM guy was Hardy. He was kind of really the first rumor, the first name that we saw that may be the guy to come in this running back room. Like when I saw this one, I kind of felt like you're adding a guy here that's also might keep Damari and Jeremiah in the room, and he can be part of the rotation. And that's not a knock on Darrell. I just feel like if Hardy came in, a guy that just had like 1,300 yards, whatever it had, he might come in and be like the guy type thing. I think this one kind of gives the guys that are still on the roster an opportunity to stay on the team and be in the rotation. And haven't watched a whole lot of tape on him. We'll do that with our members this week, but I'm excited about the addition, and we knew we had to go out and get a guy. So just kind of looking at now, Damari's turn, where, things happen, as we saw yesterday, unexpectedly. But as we sit here today, Jeremiah is still on the team, and it's looking more and more like that's going to be the case. So just kind of what do you think about the addition of Darrell here and what it means for the running back room moving forward?
Yeah, I like the addition. I agree with you. I think this was a depth piece move, but I think he has the potential to get carries in big time, meaningful games. Look, Jeremiah's still on the roster. A lot of people, including myself, I kind of thought he might transfer, and I know the window is still open, but for now, he's still there, and I agree with what you said. I think this was a move to kind of keep them two there. Maybe he kind of gets some run like Brian Battie did when he come over from South Florida. He gets some meaningful carries, and he pops some games. We'll always remember that Brian Battie performance against Texas A&M where I thought he ran the ball really hard. I think this could be something for Darrell Robinson. He's also very familiar with the guys coming to Auburn. He high school ball, that pipeline up there. So this was a guy who was committed to another school and then was like, hey, let me back off this, let me go to Auburn. I want to make sure this is the right thing to do, and Kentucky recruited this kid out of high school. So I like seeing that another SEC program threw a feeler out on him and was like, hey, we want you out of high school. He goes to UConn, all that stuff. Look, he had a pretty decent year up there. And UConn football, they were better than what they have been in a lot of years past. So, I think this is I'm not going to say like I'm jumping out of the room. It's like a huge addition, but it's a solid depth piece where he could possibly grow into a big time running back in this conference.
Yeah, and look, so he redshirted in 2023. I guess he did play, but well, ESPN has him listed as a freshman, so I'm assuming that he redshirted
Yeah.
in 2023. In 2023, he had 40 carries, 166 yards with a touchdown, 4.2 yards a carry. And then last year, as a redshirt freshman, 107 carries, 731 yards, 6.8 yards a carry, 8 touchdowns, and a long of 68. So definitely a kid that, and I think the eligibility here is important too, because if you go back to last year's recruiting class, you didn't even bring a running back in, right? So now you're adding a guy that's going to come into this year as a sophomore, kind of filling that hole as far as all that goes. And so this guy's got a lot of eligibility left. And to be clear, I may not have worded that exactly the right way I wanted to. I'm not saying he doesn't have a chance to come in and compete, and that he's like 6.8 yards a carry, like. Look, he came on as the year went on. I'm sure this staff looked at his tape, evaluated it, and said, this guy's a dog. He can get in here and make something happen. So forgive me, guys. I'm not too familiar with UConn. We're going to have, but we got plenty of time to kind of look at Darrell, look at what he brings to the table. But I think it's a nice piece to add to an already running back room that already has 2 pieces that I really believe in. So, yeah, man, running back, continuing to stack that room, and I'm excited for it. We'll see what he brings. And like I said, for our members, we'll definitely have some film breakdowns and things like that. Also, very, very important, because me and Blake just gave special teams an F on Friday when we did our final report card. Oklahoma State punter Hudson, I believe it's got to be CAC, right? Transfers to Auburn. Not a whole lot really here to break down, Blake, but we needed a punter, man. We definitely needed a punter, and hopefully this time we can get a guy that maybe flips the field for us instead of always having the field flipped on us.
That's a fact, man, and I think he was a highly sought after punter. Like, a lot of programs were going after him.
Yeah.
And he was highly rated. And I'll just call him from, like I did with Oscar, the land down under. So, I that last name right there. But I think this is one where I am pretty excited about, because I'm tired of getting pinned on the 2-yard line. Maybe we could have a punter where, he pinned somebody inside the 20. I think he had 11 punts where he pinned the opponent inside the 20 last year. So I would certainly take that. I feel like that's something that we lack this year. And Oscar, I hate that he had the year that he had, but we definitely needed something to come in and kind of flip things for us to keep us out of those terrible situations. And maybe if we're punting out of the end zone, we can hit a big boomer and them not get the ball on our 35.
Yeah, makes a big difference, man. Water Cooler Talk in here. We appreciate you, brother. Go check them out and subscribe to them if you haven't. He's talking about the running back, Darrell Robinson. Says he's a solid pickup, a bigger body power back. Yeah, 6'1", 200 pounds. You got to think they're kind of bringing him in to be that bruiser, because that's a little bit of a different style than the guys that you have in that room already. Excellent point there. Mm-hmm. And then Ike is in here and he says it's Cock. All right, well, that's what I'm going to go with. Dude's last name's Cock. All right, man. So look, Blake, we know what we're here to talk about, man. Oklahoma quarterback Jackson Arnold transfers to Auburn, and then it's kind of relevant to the discussion because a couple hours later, Walker White enters the transfer portal, leaving you with Deuce Knight, who we'll talk about at the end of the episode because you went and saw him ball out in an all-star game yesterday, and Jackson Arnold. Those are the 2 QBs that we currently think are going to be. I mean, Walker hasn't, we'll see. He hasn't gone somewhere else yet. There's still a possibility Auburn can maybe bring him back in. But right now, the way it's looking, Jackson Arnold, Deuce Knight, those are your two guys, and neither one of them have even put on an Auburn helmet yet. So a lot of question marks, man. When you look at Jackson Arnold, Blake, highly touted, everyone knows the deal, right? 5-star out of high school, all that stuff. Goes into a situation at Oklahoma last year where questions on offensive line, they have injury-riddled offense, everything that went along with that. Fired their OC about halfway through the season. He gets benched. Actually, they come to Auburn, beat us, and he doesn't even play. But there's tons of potential there. There's a big arm. You saw, I think it was Jake Crane's been saying he played running back versus Alabama. He had over 100 yards. He had over 100 yards running the ball versus Alabama. So he does have that ability. All the tools are there. the 9 fumbles. I mean, there's definitely there's pros and cons, right? Turnover prone, got benched. There's like I said, there's also a lot of stuff to look at as far as what went wrong at Oklahoma. So there's just a whole lot kind of going on here. Super talented kid, man. So let's just start there with Jackson Arnold before we kind of get into what it means for the quarterback room as a whole. Bringing in Jackson Arnold, Blake, we know Hugh has to hit on this one. Also, with the understanding of looks like we might still have to go bring in 2 more guys. But what are your thoughts on Jackson Arnold being the guy that Hugh Freeze is bringing in here to potentially run this offense?
All right, so I'm not jumping for joy, right?
Right.
I'm not going to get on here and sunshine pump to you. I'm not going to get on here and say Hugh Freeze found his guy, okay? But I am going to take this route to it. And I'm going to say that Jackson Arnold was a former 5-star plus recruit. He went to Oklahoma. It didn't work out, all right? He had a brand new offensive line at Oklahoma. They were down to basically walk-on wide receivers at Oklahoma. They were having problems with their offensive coordinator. They fired their offensive coordinator. I think it was a bad situation. They brought in a backup quarterback with Michael Hawkins. All right. Yeah, he beat Auburn, but guess what happened with him? It didn't work out either. Like their offense was still struggling. So they were like, hey, maybe it's not a quarterback problem. Maybe it's a scheme problem. Maybe it's our offensive coordinator. Maybe he's the problem. Jackson Arnold has the potential. He fits Hugh Freeze's system. He's going to have better playmakers at Auburn than he had at Oklahoma. All I'm asking you is to protect the football and not make the boneheaded mistake that we just had to live through. Don't make those mistakes to lose football games. Protect the football. I'm really hoping this thing turns out like a Spencer Rattler.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer Rattler went to Oklahoma, number 1 overall quarterback, struggled at Oklahoma, had Caleb Williams behind him. He was out there and they were chanting Caleb's name while Spencer's at the 50 on a drive. So I'm hoping this thing turns out like Spencer, where you go to South Carolina, you improve your stock, you eventually get drafted. But Auburn's going to have to bring in more QBs from the portal. And now you're looking like, is Jackson Arnold coming from Oklahoma to Auburn to sit the bench? Probably not, y'all. Probably not. But now you got to go get 2 more, and you got to have a battle. You got to have a legitimate quarterback battle because Walker decides to transfer. Dustin, all I'll say on the Walker thing is I'm not gonna give my opinion or say much about it until I see where Walker White transfers.
Agreed.
Because I'm not 100% sure whether, I don't care what Pete Nako says or whatever. I will hold what I got to say on that because of what his family is going through. And I'm not going to get on here and bash a kid for making a life decision when his mother is going what she's going through. So I'll hold my thoughts on him. Why would he sit the bench at Auburn and not go get to see his mother and everything like that? Look, from Little Rock, Arkansas to Auburn, Alabama is not a short hike. All right.
Yeah.
That's not a short trip. So if Walker's, if he's probably looking at it like, hey man, I might, they brought Jackson Arnold in and I might have to sit the bench or whatever, and I might just want to transfer a little closer to home. So I'm not going to get on here and bash him. Now, I agree with what you had to say. If he transfers to North Carolina or something like that, I'm going to be like, okay, well, it was clearly about football.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be the one to get on here and bash him and say anything negative about him with his family and the type of people they are. And they have continuously shown how much they love Auburn. And I know Mike G said something yesterday on Twitter. He said, there's not many people that I respect more than Walker White. And he's like, I've been doing this for some time now, and I've ran through a lot of players in that locker room, and I don't think there's many more that I respect than Walker White. So I'm not going to be one of these freaking burner accounts.
Always a burner, Blake. Always
that wants
a burner.
to get on there and talk shit about a kid, an 18-year-old kid who is a freshman in college, and his mom is going what she's going through. I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm not. I'm sorry. You can get mad at me and say, well, it's not hard to read, and Pete Nakos said this and all that. Well, Pete Nakos and them also said that Naeem Offord was 100% locked to flip to Auburn. All right. And then here comes Oregon. Bang. All right. They also said that Jackson Arnold was going to Mississippi State. All right. So there's a lot of stuff that people say that's not 100% correct.
Or it changes. It changes.
It changes. Yeah. I'm not going to do that yet. I will wait and hold that. But I'm interested to see who you target from here. I know the Stanford kid. Why hasn't he signed yet? Like what? I'm still interested to see, is that still a thing that we pursue? I think you kind of got to now, and then you got to add one more. I just don't know though. Like, if you sign the Stanford kid, the Daniels kid, like, what quarterback is going to be like, oh yeah, well, let me go over here to Auburn and get in this absolutely, you got Jackson Arnold. I'm not going to say best quarterback room in the country like those tweets that were flying off yesterday, but you're going in here and you got Jackson Arnold, a former 5-star plus. You got Deuce Knight, a 5-star coming in, and then you got the Ashton Daniels kid, where I know his eligibility is running out, but what guy's going to come in here and want to get sandwiched between Jackson Arnold and Deuce Knight?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm kind of having, like, who do you go get? Who's going to want to come in here and do that? It's going to be interesting to see, Dustin.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to before we get off of this real quick, because I just want to go ahead and get this out of the way. Billy says Walker White's mom has cancer and he's moving closer to home. Y'all know that kid didn't want to leave Auburn. Yeah. So Billy, what I posted yesterday on Twitter was, I said I'm reserving judgment on this situation until we learn all the details, and I'm acknowledging what Pete Nakos is reporting and respecting it. I'm not saying that Pete's wrong or got bad intel. Things changed. Like Blake brought up the Naeem Offord. I think there was a point about 48 hours before signing day where Naeem Offord was coming to Auburn, and then things changed. And as fluid as things are in high school recruiting, they change apparently about every 10 minutes in this portal stuff right now. I mean, it's flying. I had to put my phone down yesterday. I was like, I just can't keep up with all the intel that we're trying to gather and trying to get everything right, and everyone's trying to figure stuff out. So yeah, Billy, if Walker goes to Arkansas, if Walker goes somewhere to like Arkansas State, then it's going to kind of be pretty clear to me like what the situation is there. And what's sad about it, Billy, is I had to delete that tweet. Not because I don't stand by what I said. I stand by what I said. And all I said was, hey, let's wait and see where Walker goes before we just make any kind of determination on the situation, because what his family is going through. And then I put my phone down. I woke up and this tweet was almost at 100,000 impressions, and Auburn fans were going to war in the thread. I deleted it. Not because I don't stand on what I said. I do. So I'm saying the exact same thing I tweeted right here on camera. I stand on what I said, but I didn't want – when I start seeing other prominent Auburn personalities arguing with each other under my thread, which was supposed to be like a common sense post, like, hey, let's just wait and see. I had no idea it was going to shoot off the way that it did like that. So I didn't want to contribute to any more negativity towards Walker White, towards that situation, or towards the Auburn just quarterback situation, just Auburn news in general, because that thing really popped, and I didn't expect it to at all. It was a pretty simple little post, I thought. So yeah, let's just on the Walker White. I co-sign everything you said, Blake. Let's wait and see if he goes to Clemson or somewhere like that. Then it'll kind of be hard to make that point about family and all that. And then it's like, okay, then it's a football reason, and we can break it down that way. I'm gonna wait and see. I'm gonna wait and see before I have a big determination on Walker.
It's like before we started recording, I told Dustin this, y'all. I said, if he goes to TCU or someplace like that, then that'll tell me all I needed to know. Because Dallas to Little Rock is a whole hell of a lot closer than
right.
Auburn to Little Rock. So
Yeah,
let's wait and
absolutely.
see.
Absolutely. That family's going through a lot, man. And just because there's one or two sentences out there from a reporter, let's just wait and see how it all plays out. But to Jackson Arnold, Blake. So, I was going to come on here and I had a lot more like definite points I was going to make. But everything I kind of wanted to say is kind of up in the air now because now you got to go get two more guys. And it was already kind of up in the air because you still had to go get another guy. But I don't subscribe to the theory. And if I'm wrong here. And if you guys are out there that are bugging super hard and y'all are correct on this and I'm as wrong, then I'll come back on here in a couple weeks and say I was wrong. And I'll be happy to be wrong. But there's a theory out there that Auburn's just waiting. And something I've noticed since the portal became a thing is there's always a guy out there, boy. There's a mystery quarterback that's going to change the game for Auburn. Hey, look, so when what I said yesterday, when Jackson Arnold got announced, I said big gamble for Hugh Freeze, all things considered. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. 12 people. Be patient, Dustin. I didn't know I was being impatient. I just said it's going to be I didn't know that was an impatient thing. I didn't know I was being impatient, but you guys, there's a lot of Auburn fans out there that seem to think that there is a starting quarterback on a playoff team that is going to come to Auburn once the playoffs are over. That's a very, very hot and heavy rumor out there right now. A lot of people saying, be patient, just wait. The mystery guy's out there. He's out there. He's coming. He's going to change the game. Look, the portal's not over. So that could happen, and boy, they could be cooking up something masterful. People out there telling me we go. Well, just I had somebody DM me yesterday. We're gonna get Clay Klubnik. Just wait a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. That'd be a starting quarterback of a playoff team leaving to come to a 5-7 team. Call me crazy, but I'm gonna have to see that to believe that. And Auburn doesn't necessarily have a reputation of quarterbacks come here and we'll get you right for that to even be a thing. So I don't subscribe to that. Okay. I don't think that a starting quarterback of a playoff team is coming to Auburn in a couple of weeks. I think Jackson Arnold is the plan for QB1.
I agree 100%. And I'll say this. I've heard Marcel Reed. All right. Why the hell would Marcel Reed transfer from Texas A&M to Auburn, y'all? Why?
When he's already got the job.
He's the guy. He's the guy. Now, it would have been different if you would have took old other boy that just transferred to Houston, Wegman or whatever, however the hell they say his name. Or I've also heard Lenoris Sellers for $3 million. Stop. All right. Stop. Stop. All right. It's insane to me. I don't get it.
He's always out there, Blake. He's always out there. There's a big master plan, mystery man coming in here. You just don't know yet. Be patient. Listen, sorry. Cope, and be patient are so overused online. People tell me to cope, and I'm like, that doesn't. Do you know what the word means? It doesn't apply to what I'm talking about here.
It's like it is. Speaking of the cope thing, I posted a TikTok of Deuce last night. Y'all, when I tell you the first comment was, yeah, I've seen this kid play multiple times. He's not a 5-star. So I responded back and I was like, well, technically, if you want to break it down in the recruiting ranks, he is a 5-star because they literally gave him his 5th star. So, he was one of the 32 that they slotted in for those 5 stars. And he was like, cope, brother, not a 5-star. And I was like,
yeah.
Well, technically,
yeah,
he is a 5-star. So, there's no what are you talking about, man? I don't get what you're saying. You're just trying to troll on the internet. And he responds back and he's like, no, look at the arm strength. I was like, look at the arm strength. Brother was throwing absolute seeds today. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Look at the 4.4 speed where he absolutely just torched 2 guys that are coming to us. We'll talk about it later, but I mean, some of these trolls, man, on the internet where you're just like cope and be patient and just wait. He's coming. You just don't know it yet. Y'all, like Bud Crawford was on Twitter last night and he was like, I thought Auburn was getting Lenore Sellers. Because it just makes you look foolish. Why would Lenore Sellers leave South Carolina right now, where they're on the verge? Their defense is one of the best in the country. They're on the verge of being in the conversation for the playoffs at the start of next year. What everybody said, oh, but they lost Juice Wells. They're going to be terrible. And they come out with Lenora Sellers and they're hooping. So why would he leave? We got to be. I just feel like we got to be better than what we're doing right now.
People get emotional about this quarterback, Blake, specifically quarterback. They get worked up about this position more so than the team winning or losing. They get worked up about quarterback takes. It is something to behold.
More so than your left tackle being absolutely embarrassing last year, who played in the Southeastern Conference that we thought was a home run hit.
Yeah.
And he got absolutely embarrassed all year long. That's what we really need to be caring about is, can we find 2 tackles? Can we improve this offensive line? Because and nobody's going to be good back there at quarterback if they're still having to run for their freaking life.
Yeah.
There you go.
Let's just say, and I mean, again, Walker White entering and now having to go get 2 guys really kind of just throws a wrench in the discussion. But let's just say, a long way to go, that Jackson Arnold is the starter when Auburn rolls into Waco versus Baylor. Jackson Arnold is the game plan for QB1. So what is the ceiling and what is the floor? And I want to start with the positive. I'm going to start with the ceiling. The ceiling is you got a 5-star guy that has a huge arm, that can make every single throw and is a better runner than Peyton Thorne. He's not as good as what you're getting in Deuce Knight, but he ran for over 100 yards in Alabama, and Oklahoma used him in a way that they knew he would be effective in doing. So he definitely has the ability to make things happen with his feet. So all the potential is there. He has, all the tools are there to hit that 5-star ceiling. That's why he was rated the 5-star. So was the situation at Oklahoma one of them situations where it was impossible for him to succeed? The offensive line at Oklahoma was their biggest question going into the season. And then a bunch of guys get hurt. And then all their receivers get down. So is it one of them deals where, and then the kid at Oregon left Oklahoma, Gabriel, he leaves Oklahoma, he goes to Oregon and finds success, something that we know a little bit about, which is going to bring me to this other point I want to make about, listen, I'm not making any definite statements here. Here are my questions is in regards to Jackson Arnold. They're more so about the head coach and the offensive system, because Bo Nix was a 5-star that didn't look like a 5-star at Auburn. But then Bo Nix went to a system, went to a staff, went to a program where he had, like you mentioned, Blake, some time to throw the football, but a system that worked, that they were competent. They knew their identity. They knew what they were doing. Then look at Bo Nix in the pros right now. Sean Payton. Drew Brees wasn't nothing until Sean Payton got a hold of him. And that was a Hall of Fame top 10, top 15 greatest quarterbacks ever. Literally saved an entire city almost in New Orleans. Like Sean Payton's got a long history of being that guy. And now Bo Nix is in Denver, and he's him and Jaden Daniels are battling out, in my opinion, for the top rookie quarterbacks because you put a system around him. If you would have told me that Bo Nix would be doing what he's doing with the Denver Broncos the day of that Georgia State game, people would have called you crazy. He got benched for TJ freaking Finley. And then TJ freaking Finley came in and saved the day and won the game for us. That's where Bo Nix's career was at one point. So I'm going to be fair to Jackson Arnold and say, I'm not going to completely I'm going to take into account what happened at Oklahoma. I can tell you right now, 9 fumbles scares the piss out of me. But you could be that guy. Like if the system is put around you right at Auburn, could you do what Bo Nix did there? But herein comes the negative part of that. Because and you've got Cam Coleman, you've got Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons. I believe and I think you're going to bring in some portal guys. I think you've got the weapons, right? Mm-hmm. So like all that could be there if you get the O-line fixed for Jackson to succeed. And I think you're going to have a defense next year that's just going to keep you in a lot of football games. Like you're going to have the opportunity to win games even if you haven't played great. Now, to the flip side of that, Bo Nix literally left Auburn, right? Like it's not like Auburn has the history of being the place to where you come to fulfill your potential. Auburn has the history of being the place where the opposite happens. Now, that's a completely different staff and all that. That was Brian Harsin and Gus Malzahn before. Okay, cool. Have you guys seen anything from Hugh Freeze and his offensive staff to make you believe because that they can get all that out of Jackson Arnold? Because the whole argument that I just heard about halfway through the season with Peyton Thorne was a lot of people saying Peyton Thorne's the problem. Peyton Thorne's the problem, and he just there's just limitations to what he can and cannot do. And we got to go get a guy. That's what we started hearing now. We started hearing it about a month or two left in the season. We got to go get a game changer. We got to go get a guy. We got to go get a guy that can make up for some of these coaching blunders and can make up for some of these problems with the scheme and all that. And now with Jackson Arnold, it's a lot more of the same discussions here that I'm hearing about in Oklahoma about this wasn't right and that wasn't right. It sounds like a lot of the same stuff that was said for Peyton Thorne at Auburn. Well, this wasn't right and that wasn't right. So for me, and listen, this is what you can go to the Just a Sec. Go subscribe, by the way. About to start pumping out some SEC content. Gonna do an interview with our guy this week, Josh Mahler, your buddy, and kind of take a look at just what's moving forward for that Oklahoma program, what they're gonna do next. Mm-hmm. But and I was just kind of just talking to him about about some of this, and he was saying he said kind of Jackson's decision making. He and some of the other Oklahoma stuff I was reading was they were just his decision making at times in the RPO, and I'm like, boy, that sounds a lot like PT. So, but what I was saying was 6 games through the season, I did a pod for Just a Sec channel. I did most impressive and biggest disappointments in the SEC so far. Again, this was in like October. Most impressive player I had was Ryan Williams, and most impressive head coach I had was Josh Heupel. I think they were like 6-0 at the time. Still made the playoffs. Still had a good year. My biggest disappointment, if I had to do it now, it would be Lane Kiffin, all things considered. But my biggest disappointment at the time, head coach, was Hugh Freeze, and my biggest disappointment for player was Jackson Arnold, a 5-star quarterback that had just got benched. Now those two were teaming up, so it's like I haven't really been high on these. Like before they were together, I wasn't high on these two, and now they're together. So it's like I'm not going to talk myself into. I just want to be fair, man. I want to be fair, but I also feel like, dude, there's so much more. There's so much more still up in the air as far as what's going to be brought into this room, what's going to be brought in to upgrade the offensive line. I know you had the big tackle for Virginia Tech in there that we feel like we have a good opportunity to get. Dylan Wade saying that he's coming back and everything that goes in with that. Like, you got the opportunity. It's just I see a lot of question marks, Blake, and my worry is, and forgive me, guys, I hate being this way, but if it was Auburn basketball and there are some question marks, I have faith the question marks will get figured out because Bruce Pearl's earned that from me. You know what? We're going to figure out, like, one way or the other, the backup point guard situation, Bruce is going to find a way around it, okay?
Yeah.
Like, because he currently is. Yeah. Because the issue exists, and Auburn's still blowing out teams by 40 and the number 2 team in the country. Bruce has earned that trust from us that despite the issues, he'll be able to figure out one way or another to win a basketball game. Mm-hmm. Hugh Freeze hasn't earned that for me yet. So when I look at, okay, well, there's a lot of potential here with Jackson Arnold, but it's potential. There's a whole lot of questions.
Yeah.
And then I look at Hugh and I say, there's a lot of potential here, But man, you've been here 2 years, and there's a whole lot of questions. So I'm a little skeptical, man, as if all these things are going to go the right way for Auburn.
Yeah.
And then we're a long way from the season, so I'm not making any dramatic predictions one way or the other. But I think it's fair to say, Blake, I don't think you can call me negative for saying this is a gamble, right? Like if Jackson Arnold is QB1 going into Baylor, is this not a roll of the dice for Hugh Freeze?
I think anybody you get out of the portal at the moment is a gamble.
That's a fact. I agree with you there.
I think anybody you get. I think there could have even been questions of Malik Murphy or the kid from Tulane who went to Duke. I think anybody would have been a gamble. The only time I wouldn't have said something is when this mysterious QB like Cade Klubnik, if he would have said, "Hey, I'm out of here after the playoffs and I'm going to Auburn," all right, then I would have been like, "Okay, well, look, we got our guy. It's not a gamble. All right, we got our guy." I just think anybody at this point is going to be a so-called gamble because you got to unlock the potential. The same thing with Malik Murphy, y'all. And who knows, Malik Murphy, I don't think he will, but he could say, "Hey, I want to come to Auburn too," and be that next quarterback, battle it out with Jackson Arnold. I'm not saying that happens. I'm just saying it possibly could with Auburn's quarterback situation. Whatever. The thing with Malik Murphy is he threw a lot of interceptions. The game against Miami, if you watched it, they were beating the piss out of Miami. They were up by like 17 at one point. Malik Murphy threw 3 picks, y'all. He turned the ball over a lot. He threw 12 picks. All right.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Peyton Thorne threw 12 picks his first year at Auburn. So anything is a gamble at this point. And I'm with you though. Like you got to unlock the potential for Jackson Arnold. If you can, then we're going to have a lot of fun. If you can't, we're going to go out to Waco, Texas, and yeah, it might be an interesting trip. So I'm at the point where anybody out of the transfer portal at QB right now is a gamble. Even Miller Moss would have been a gamble because I had people get on it. Well, he diced up LSU. Okay, that's not what we're looking at, y'all. We're looking at the fit in the offense. We're looking at the scheme. Well, how do they fit? And Miller Moss was absolutely terrible for USC throughout the season. He had a great night against LSU, but the further they went into the year, it was bad. So all of this, well, he beat this team, well, he beat that team. None of that matters. None of it. None of that carries over to Auburn. So everything's a gamble at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's why I'm not. I'm a long way from making any definite statements. I mean, I've got A-Day, spring practice. There's so much, and we're going to get to it here in our last segment. We're going to get to some comments real quick before we get there. But there's a guy coming in from high school who I'm really having to hold back some takes.
One thing that gets me is I was on TikTok last night and I went live, and one of the first comments is, "Blake, with Jackson Arnold, we're making the college football playoffs." And I was like, "Hey man, look, we ain't even seen this guy in spring ball yet. Like let's see him in A-Day and see how things are going. We don't even know who's on our damn roster. All right? Like let's let it sink in, man. We got the schedule, we got a favorable schedule, but let's figure out the roster. Let's see the transfer. We still have another transfer portal window we got to go through after spring. So let's pump the brakes on we're going to the college football playoffs or we're going 10-2 or whatever. Like Jackson Arnold is something to get excited about. Yes. But let's be patient and let's see who else we gather. I like the receiver from Georgia Tech. Texas is in the mix, y'all. Are we going to outbid the oil money out there? I'm still nervous about that.
Mhm.
Like, this portal window is crazy, man. I gotta wait and sit back and watch things develop.
Yeah, and you talk about the spring portal. Peyton Thorne started for Auburn for 2 years. He came in a spring portal.
Yep.
So, I mean, we still got a long way to go, man. But yeah, if Jackson Arnold is QB1 week 1, then I think it's fair to say it's up to Hugh Freeze and his staff, Ken Austin, Derek Nix, those guys, to put the right system around him and reach that potential. Because
Yep.
in his 1 year at Oklahoma, he got benched, and he didn't show that he was that guy that a month ago Auburn fans were clamoring for, right? Like, we're gonna go get the guy, go get the Cam Ward, go get the game changer. Auburn's got $4 million put aside to go get this dude. And me and Blake were sitting there texting privately the whole time, like, are we sure that guy even enters the portal? Like, that's not
That's what I'm saying.
starting. Usually starting quarterbacks don't, unless they're going up. But what we're talking about, going and getting a guy from a playoff team. Who the hell is leaving a playoff team to go to a 5-7 team? When you already have a starting job locked up, I don't see it, man. I agree with you. You got to go. You gotta go get what you can get. You got to go pick from what's available and do the best that you can. Do I think Murphy was do I like Murphy's tape better? I do, but it's not night and day.
Yeah.
Like, it's not this big, oh, well, he's so much better. What do you do when like you said, 12 picks, lower completion percentage than you kind of would like to see. So there was questions for Murphy there too. There's not that surefire guy. He's not out there.
My thing with Malik Murphy is, I actually talked to C5 about this. I liked Malik Murphy because he spent multiple years with Steve Sarkisian, right? So,
Like that.
The offensive guru, I think the development each year for Malik Murphy, he got better. He did play at Duke. That might have, they went 9-3, but the talent there, that might have had a little something to do with, the 12 picks or, whatever. I look at Hugh, and the reason I don't think Malik Murphy was the fit is you look at Hugh's previous quarterbacks. Y'all, they were all mobile. They were all guys that could get out of the pocket and move. We can go back to Malik. All right. Malik Willis could move, could get out of the pocket, make plays with his legs. You can go back to Chad Kelly. Didn't like to do it a whole lot, but he would get out of the pocket and make plays with his legs. Go back to Bo Wallace. Could get out of the pocket and make plays with his legs. That is the quarterback that Hugh Freeze wants. He wants a guy that when things break down or he can run the read option or whatever, he wants a guy that can get out of the pocket and make a play with his legs. And Jackson Arnold presents that more than Malik Murphy. Malik Murphy's kind of a pocket passer, statue kind of guy, stand back there and let it rip. Where Jackson Arnold is hey, I'll tuck this one, I'll run, and I can take it to the house. So I think that's what Hugh was kind of looking at, is a guy that, if you look back through the years, he likes those dudes that can take off and run. And I think that's why you get Ja here.
Yeah, I hear you. I agree with you, buddy. Fire Freeze gifted 10 memberships. Thank you, Fire Freeze. You're always in here. Gifted memberships, always showing love for the pod, and we greatly appreciate it. And Efficient Gaming has been a recipient of that. And he says, hey, thanks, Fire Freeze. So got the member pods. Had a fun one yesterday, man. Did Darian Smith, did the film breakdown on him. Love the way he uses his leverage. Him and Antonio Coleman remind me a lot of each other. Really explosive, that first step off that defensive line. So we'll have that up for you members soon. We got, like I said, we got some portal guys to look at now. We're going to turn our attention, as far as recruiting goes, to the 2026 cycle, because it never stops, baby. It never stops. Thomas Manville with a $10 super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Thomas. My dog been rocking with us since day one. Says, War Damn Eagle, always keep it up, fellas. Thank you, Thomas. You keep it up, man, and everything that you got going on out there. Rocking the stage with that band of yours, breaking down the O-line tape and everything that you do. Appreciate you, buddy. Fire Free says, has the Cal kid committed yet? Talking about Mendoza. I haven't seen it. I haven't. Have you seen Mendoza commit anywhere yet, Blake?
I have not. I have not seen that.
Hey man, we need two. We need two. You came in here and dialed us up. Showed toughness. Showed me some
Yeah.
toughness. Took some shots. Won a game in Jordan Hare Stadium. Something that some of our starters can't even say they've done a whole lot of. Teresa says, "What happened to Ashton from Stanford? Did he ever sign? He hasn't yet." Yeah. Again, this is the thing with this. Like right now, this QB situation is so up in the air. Like, I don't know. It seemed at the beginning of the week that he was going to be brought in as like the for sure backup option. It was kind of being sold like this kid's coming in to be the two. And then you haven't heard anything in like 4 or 5 days about that, which in this cycle is an eternity. So I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
There's some spots open, Teresa. I know that. There's a couple of spots open. Jamie says, maybe I'm bugging, but after watching Jackson's highlights, listening to his interviews, and hearing what his teammates say about him, I think he's our guy. He's a baller with potential to be a first round pick. He's definitely got the potential to be a first round pick. I would just say, Jamie, on watching the highlights, they don't put the 9 fumbles on the highlight tape, I would assume. Those probably aren't on there. And 9 fumbles is freaking atrocious. And if I watched Blake's head almost shoot off of his shoulders with Damari this year, and I don't know if we can go through somebody fumbling the ball 9 times and Blake be okay.
Yeah. Look, when you watch highlights, you got to find the YouTube section where they show the lowlights as well. So you gotta kind of take this thing, and you can be happy, you can be excited. Like we said, the former 5-star plus recruit, highly touted Elite 11 finalist. The potential is there, but you gotta kind of unlock that potential if you're Hugh Freeze, and you got to show us that you're a quarterback developer. Like you've always said, you're the offensive guru. You've always said, when we were talking about it on the water cooler that night, is there a problem with development with Hugh Freeze and his staff, his offensive staff? With the defense has been fine. That play's been developing nicely. All right.
For a decade.
And you got some absolute dogs coming. I'll do a member pod for y'all on some of the stuff that I saw yesterday at that Alabama Mississippi high school game. Like y'all, Auburn is blessed with some of these kids that are coming. I'll give you a little tidbit right here. Anquan Fagans is one of the most talented players that will step foot on campus. That kid is an absolute star, and he's going to play next year. I can go ahead and tell you that he's going to play. He's that good. He will absolutely. Remember when I said that Auburn DBs had a problem with coming downhill and absolutely popping you and making you feel them?
Yeah.
Guess what? He don't have a problem with.
He does not.
He will come downhill and absolutely punish you, and he means it, man. Like, I was just super impressed with every kid. Like Malik Autry. Malik Autry was absolutely moving folks yesterday. Was living in the backfield. I said, hey, man, these cats, like, our defense is going to be absolute fire.
Yeah.
Like, kept us in games this year, could win us games next year. And I know they're going to be young, but boy, man, if you get the production that you got from these freshmen this past season, if these guys can step in and make that same jump, man, Auburn's defense could be hell for years to come, Dustin. I'm thoroughly impressed.
Yeah, I agree with you on Fagans, man. Me and I talked about this on the all day stream on signing day. Was like, that's just a guy that has to get on the field. Like, he just there's some guys where it's like, okay, I can't keep that guy off the field. And with everything that he brings to the table, the complete package that he is, on top of his IQ, it's like, oh yeah, this guy's a freaking problem. And that kid's a pro. He's an NFL player.
And yesterday I'm on the internet and I'm talking about these guys in the Alabama Mississippi High School Classic and how well they played. And people are like, well, yeah, they're still in high school though. You need to tamper it down a little bit. And I was like, yeah, they're still in high school and they're playing high school players, but those same high school players are going to the same level of football that they're going to. Okay. These aren't freaking scrubs out here playing in this game. When they announced the lineups, you were like, oh, wow, yeah, he's going to that school. He's going to that school. Oh, wow, yeah, he's going to Oregon. That's crazy. Oh man, he's going to Auburn. Like, these aren't scrubs playing in this game. So I don't get the takes sometimes of you got to use your eyes, man. Let the eyes work for you. These dudes are playing against similar competition that they're going to the same level. I know it's going to take them a little time to get their feet wet in college, but they're going to the same level. All these dudes were scouted. They had multiple people looking at them, watching them, and writing about them. They've went to multiple camps. Like, a lot of the times, y'all, these dudes don't miss. Like, yes, you have your misses and some 5 stars bust, but it's rare. It is rare. Like, these dudes are followed closely.
Yeah, and some of them you look at and you're like, I don't even know how that guy could miss, and that's how I feel about Anquan Fagans.
Yeah.
It's like I don't even know in what world that guy doesn't reach at least close to his maximum potential. And there have been 4 guys, and I'm not trying to like pat myself on the back. I'm trying to say that like sometimes, man, things are just really, really clear. There have been 4 guys since we've been doing this podcast that I've pounded the table and said there's no way that guy's going to fail. Connor Liu, Keldrick Falk, Cam Coleman, and Malik Blockton.
Yeah.
Because to me, watching those guys in high school, it's like, oh, you can just tell, bro. Like, it's just different. And I agree with you. I feel that exact same way about Anquan Fagans, man. He's that dude. Michael says, I think we need to grab an athletic QB in the portal. Gives us a different style for the QB competition this spring. Jackson Arnold and Deuce Knight are both pretty athletic. I understand what you're saying, Michael. I don't disagree with you, but I think you've got the 2 guys that you think are going to be there are pretty damn athletic already.
Yeah, Jackson Arnold's pretty. He's pretty athletic, Dustin.
Yeah. Brad Browning says it's okay, Dustin. Stop the cope and be patient. Absolutely, man. I mean, it's the application of those words, Brad, is on the social media is always funny. I don't think people know the definitions.
Is Mike? Mike, are you talking about? If you're still in here, are you talking about the Mendoza thing? Because like maybe switching off of like Auburn possibly getting a quarterback. Maybe what was his name? Ashton Daniels from Stanford, a guy that's a little bit more athletic than a Mendoza. Like, if you were to bring Ashton Daniels, the times I did watch Stanford this year, he had the potential to take off and run and pick up, 12, 13 yards. I don't know where Auburn goes, to be honest. It's going to be tough losing Walker White. It hurts.
It is. I mean, you might really just add one more guy this period and then wait till the spring and see what you do. And then even then, you might be bringing in like a redshirt freshman guy, and it just kind of like taking a flyer on a guy type thing. It's really going to be interesting to see how it goes. I hope there's a way to convince Walker White to stay at Auburn unless it's family related and he's already got something lined up to where he's going back home. And in that case, Walker, I wish you and your family nothing but the best. But yeah, it's definitely tough. Let's see. Michael says, like Blake said, fix the O-line or QB won't matter. O-line made Thorne look much worse than he was. Michael, I could not agree with you more, brother. I could not agree with you more, man. You've got to be able – on 3rd and 1, you got to be able to get some push. Auburn went from not being able to run the ball at all to now Auburn can run the ball in certain scenarios. But Auburn's still not at the point to where Auburn can run the football when the other team knows we're about to run the football. Unless it's Kentucky and whatever the hell happened over there in Lexington this year, I don't know. I don't know what happened with that defensive line that coming into the year you felt so good about. And when they went up to Oxford and pushed Ole Miss around for 4 quarters, you were like, we might have a tough time running the ball on them. And then you go for over 300 yards on the ground on them. But yeah, man, and I say that in the running game because we all know it's all a compliment, right? You got to be able to run the ball well for the quarterback to be able to do what he wants to do. And then obviously we just talked about it Friday. I thought the pass protection this year was absolute pure dog shit. So yeah, it's got to get fixed, Michael. It's got to be better. It's got to be better than what it was, or it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. BVK says Texas offers Lambos. Auburn offers pressure treated pine, baby.
And F-250s.
So. Yeah, big old lifted truck. Reed says, y'all are still in shock from the PT era. Arnold will be fine. He's already played in the SEC and grew up in Texas high school football. So because he played in Texas high school football, he's going to be fine. So every quarterback ever to play in Texas hits.
We're not.
Do I need to lay out all the bust for you from Texas, or are you just telling me to read that all of them hit? And then just assuming that Arnold will be fine. Why? What have you seen from? And I'm not saying he won't be, but you're saying that he is. So my pushback to you, Reed, is why are you so confident? Because I'm saying it's up in the air and it's a question mark. I think Blake's saying the same thing. You're so confident that a guy that got benched at his last gig and then a coach, don't even take my word for it. Call me a liar in the chat, guys, if I'm lying. Did Hugh Freeze not at a press conference this year at the end of the year say he has not done a good job coaching this offense? Has he not? He said that, right? So it has nothing to do with me being in shock, brother. We're looking at a guy that just got benched, okay, that doesn't have the best film at Oklahoma. He's now coming to a program where the head coach himself has admitted he hasn't done the best job coaching the quarterback situation so far. He hasn't done the best job coaching the offense so far. So it has nothing to do with being in shock from the PT era. It has everything to do with looking at the facts in front of us and saying, this is a question mark. And I don't see how you can land on anywhere else from that. And Reed, please tell me in the comments how being from Texas high school football makes you automatically like we're fine. He's from Texas, because you remember Demetrius Davis? He was like 40-something-0 as a Texas high school football player, came to Auburn. He lost his job at Alabama State. So I don't really know how Texas high school football. Okay, you know what? My questions are answered. He played high school football in Texas. Done. Give him the Heisman.
We laid out how excited we were about Jackson Arnold earlier in the show. We laid out the pros of how he fits Hugh Freeze, how Hugh Freeze likes mobile guys, how Oklahoma's O-line was a disaster. Auburn also needs to fix their O-line if they want this to be successful. We laid out the positives. We laid out what needed to happen for Jackson Arnold to find success. I think he has better weapons. I think Cam Coleman can make him really, really good. I think Perry Thompson could make him really, really good. But there's also the question mark of, can you, Hugh Freeze, unlock that potential? Can you be the QB guru that you always talk about? Can you be that guy? That's the question mark. We're not saying that we're still stuck in the PT era. We're not saying that we're just, we're so bummed out that, it's Jackson Arnold. We're not saying that. What we're saying is there's still question marks, and we're not going to get on here and sunshine pump so we can get 10,000 views on a video. We're not going to get on here and sunshine pump and say that we're going to the national championship and all this stuff. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, hey, let me see spring ball. Let me go to A-Day and put my gazers on it. All right.
Yeah.
I want to put these right here on what we got going on. Because last year, when I watched A-Day, I said, hey, Peyton has gotten better. He's gotten a little bit better. And that was true. The stats improved. He didn't turn the ball over near as much. It started out bad at the beginning of the year, but he did make a slight jump. Let me go to A-Day and let me see what we're working with. And then we can come back and say, hey, we're here on Jackson Arnold.
And then what's kind of funny here is Reed comes back and helps make our own point here. You're kind of canceling out yours, Reed. You're more worried about the OC calls and the QB play. Well, those things go hand in hand, buddy. Like it's it all is tied together. So me too. I am worried about the offensive plays, and that's why I have the questions about Jackson Arnold. It's not necessarily shock from the PT era. There's a whole lot of question marks, as you just laid out here. You're worried about the OC as well. Now, if you think that Jackson Arnold is good enough to overcome bad OC play, then I haven't seen that. And if you have, then time will tell if you're right, Reed. And we'll come back here and say, hey, man, Reed was right. Like Jackson was that dude. but I don't know
Yeah.
what you've seen from him last year that would make you think that he's that guy. I think the reasonable thing to say is there's questions. And no, we're not coming on here today at freaking December 15th when the damn ball ain't kicked off until the end of August, early September next year and making any kind of definite statements. Let's see. Josh says, what would y'all rate Jackson Arnold as a pickup? 1 to 10? I mean, a 5? Incomplete. I don't know.
I was going to go 7 just because of potential.
Okay.
I was going to go 7 just because of potential. And I think it brings a little spark to your quarterback room and possibly recruiting, because these guys can look at Hugh and say, okay, well, he brought in Deuce Knight, 5-star. He brought in Jackson Arnold, former 5-star plus. Like, I think there's some excitement in the building off of this. Now, those other 3 points that I left off, those are the question marks. Unlock them, and then we can talk. I am excited about the pickup, but you got to unlock the potential. If you can't, then we're in the same position next year. We're going to be having this same exact episode if you can't. All right. And we'll probably have to throw in a new coaching episode. So there you go.
That's a fact. And Brad says, I'm going to tell you all this. QB conversations at AU keep the podcasters employed. If we had stability for once, like what the hell would we talk about anymore?
Yeah.
Well, Brad, you listen to our show all the time, so you know I would love it. I would love it. I wish my girlfriend didn't just leave for work, because I'd call her in here. She'd be on the show the first time. I'd say, what did I say before I just came in here? You know what I said before we hit record? I said, I got to go talk about effing QB again. Like, yeah. I'm tired of it, Brad. I hate it. Yeah. I actually hate it. Yeah, but it is what it is. And to the point about having Peyton Thorne, whatever, syndrome or whatever, PTSD from Peyton Thorne era, brother. If you want to go that route, I got PTSD from Auburn quarterbacks since Nick Marshall era. I mean, yeah, Stidham was okay, but I felt like coaching staff didn't get everything they could have out of him. Yep. But hey, he was from Texas, so maybe he was better than better not.
It certainly keeps everybody employed, right? You get you get Zach and his staff over there. You get the War Report. You get us. You get the College Loop. All these guys, the Water Cooler Pod. All these guys, man. You got to talk about QB because it's the thing that pops. It's what people want to listen to. And then you got your diehards in here, and I'm not calling you any less of a fan, but you got your diehards who really dig into like O-line. Like I know our guy Thomas, he would rather hear an episode about O-line than he would about quarterback. But that's the thing is the quarterback play has been so atrocious that it's hard to have an episode about anything else, because even Cam Newton said it. It's hard for me to watch a game when the quarterback situation has been so terrible. He's like, Deuce, I hope you ball out, brother. I really do, because I want to see Auburn be good again. But it's been that bad I can't even watch. So yeah, it keeps the lights on, man. Like,
what else
out here?
I'll tell you what else, Brad. In the last 2 seasons, Auburn had both in the middle of the season, both times Auburn has gone through brutal stretches of like 3-4 games, right, without a win. 3-4 game losing streaks.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, after about that second or third one in a row, don't nobody want to talk about it no more. And the views plummet. And I don't blame you guys, because I'm a fan of other sports teams. And once they start losing a couple games in a row, I just don't want to hear about the same problems over, because I've already watched I've watched the game, right? Like I don't, if the Bucks lose 4 games in a row, I don't need to go listen to the podcast about it, because I've watched the games. I know what the deal is. And I don't want to. So yeah, the QB stuff does keep everybody employed, Brad. But I tell you what else keeps us all employed and making a little bit of money and making us want to do this. W's. Yeah. I love nothing more than coming on here after that Sunday morning. That Texas A&M episode was the most fun outside of the recruiting stuff, just because I love doing the recruiting stuff. That was the most fun I've had, man, since we do that, and some of the big basketball, like the SEC championship basketball win, like winning.
No doubt.
Numbers go way up, and it's way more fun to talk about too. JW says, get those likes up, people. Absolutely. We got over 200 people in here at the moment, so smash that thumbs up button, sub to the channel, man. Just because the football season is over does not mean that the football content is over. as you guys can see this week, it's only just now getting started. And this is what I hate about the timing of all this is that Auburn blew out Ohio State in basketball yesterday, and we got to get in here and talk about quarterback. It's just, oh my God, can somebody be a quarterback at Auburn and stay the quarterback for Auburn for a couple of years and be solid? Perry Unlikely says, as an AU alum that went to AU while Cam was there and sat through the 2012 season, I've experienced good and bad. You definitely saw the full scale there, brother. Says, this is tough. Hugh needs 9 wins for his sake. Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely talk. And I see this question here as well from P-Pass. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Perry Unlikely. You're always in here, and I do appreciate you, big dog. P-Pass says, is the Baylor for Freeze the same as Harsin was for Penn State? Because it's the first game, it's like, what if it goes the Billy Napier route next year where Auburn and looking at Auburn's schedule, what if Auburn struggles out the gate and then picks it up at the end of the year and kind of saves Hugh's job? So, like, I'm not going to say for certain that, but I will say it feels like it. Like, me and Blake both went to the Penn State game. We were at Tiger Walk, and I remember turning to Blake and being like, doesn't it feel like do or die? Like, it's year 2, game 3 for this guy, and just the feel in the air is like, oh, boy. And then when they blew our doors off, the feeling in the stadium was like, yeah, this is over. This is over. So it's important for like that next week of press. If we lose to Baylor, is not going to be kind for Hugh Freeze. So it's a very important game. And I know Blake's very passionate about how important that game is.
Yeah, I think it is. Just because of your resume right now at Auburn, and if you lose to Baylor, boy, this fan base is going to lose it if you go out there and lay an egg to Baylor. Because let's be honest, man, Baylor, it'd be different if we were going out there and we were playing like a prominent program. Just say we were kicking off the season with, let's say like Texas or something like that,
Right.
and it was a conference game and we lost, and I'd be like, okay, well, I get it. They've been up for a while. Baylor isn't like this historical program. Now, I know they had a pretty decent year this past season. I think they went 8-4. They had a solid quarterback, their defensive-minded head coach. He does great things. But I just feel like it would be a letdown to go out there and lose to Baylor, and this fan base would just be like, it would be like the feeling after Cal, man, and Arkansas and Oklahoma, where you just felt depleted. And I know everything that would get said is it's never going to get turned around. It's never going to get turned around. This is it. It's over. So I think you got to go out there and win it, man.
Brad says this should be the pitch for QBs to come to Auburn. Come play at AU. No one will ever stop talking about you. Yeah, hey, if you want your name to the headline, brother. I mean, Zach Calzada never played it down, and my guy still gets talked about in Auburn circles. Man, before we get out of here, guys, please hit that like button, sub to the channel. And Blake made mention of him going and visiting and watching the Alabama versus Mississippi State, the Mississippi All-Star game yesterday. And boy, Deuce Knight, Blake, the young man continues to do what Deuce Knight has done his entire senior year. He showed out. You were very impressed with Anquan Fagans and everybody else, man. So just kind of tell our members what they're going to be getting from you from this member pod you got coming out from what you saw. And if they do sign up, our guy Fire Freeze passed out 10 of them bad boys today. What are they getting?
Yeah, look, we're on fire over here on these membership pods, and Dustin has one right now that he is about to release. I'll probably put that as soon as we get off here. But $3.99 a month, JV Squad. You see the list right there, man. Early access to videos, priority reply to comments. We're always going to have you in here up on the screen on that JV Squad. And I think the move is the $5.99 a month Varsity Squad. Yeah. The recruiting update videos. If you want to rock with Dustin, it is elite content. And if you start with the JV Squad, we release a couple of them to give you a taste, give you a feeler if you want to bump up to that Varsity Squad. But the game day group chat, it's nothing but love in there. Gets a little hostile at times and during basketball games and football games. But the gameplay with you, hey, if you want to kick it up on the Xbox, give us your gamer tag. We'll play some college football 25 and watch the film Auburn baseball, y'all. We're gonna do some basketball stuff as well, but Auburn baseball, I'm about to get heavy into it. The season is right around the corner, man. It's just a month away pretty much. The season starts in February, so we're here, man. And I think this baseball team has a lot of hype around it, and I think you kind of got to live up to it this year. After going 7-20. Excuse me, after going 7-23 last year in the SEC, I think you got some stuff you got to live up to.
Yeah, a brand new ballpark, or at least it looks brand new out there. And man, we'll be credentialed, going to the games, cover them, and all that kind of stuff. It'll be a good time, man. So looking forward to all that. And one last thing, got that saw our guy 5 Freeze posted on Twitter earlier this week that he went to the warreportshop.com. He got him a t-shirt, and I just think it's the perfect gift, man. What better for Christmas? Because you give somebody than one of these level up tempo shirts, man. So go over there to warreportshop.com, get you some up tempo merch if you're interested in that. Sign up for these memberships if you're interested in that. And hey, man, if you just like the content and you just want to watch us talk about Auburn football, that's more than enough for me. All I ask is that you hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel, because it makes it easier on you. Hit the notification bell. Sometimes YouTube will tell you when we're going live on time, and sometimes they'll send you a notification 72 hours later. That's just kind of how that works, man. But very good crowd tonight, man. I appreciate all you guys. Listen, there's more to come. There's more to come as far as Auburn football news. We still got 2 quarterback spots to fill. I'm hoping it's only one, man. I'm hoping we're able to get Walker White to come back. We'll see how it goes, though. Some offensive linemen should be committing here soon. There's a lot going on. And by the way, we have the number 2 basketball team in the country that I just so happen to think is the best basketball team in the country. And I look forward to here in a couple of weeks, because we only have so much time here. I look forward to here in a couple of weeks of kind of being able to focus more on that. I got some people DMing me saying, what about basketball? What about basketball? And listen, guys, I love basketball. I grew up playing basketball. It's my sport. But we got to do what drives the numbers, right? And right now, people want to talk about the football and the roster turnover and all that. But definitely going to focus on basketball as this football news starts to wind down. I think we are in for a special season on the hardwood, man. And big thank you to everybody for being with us this morning.
Yeah, last thing I'll say is, if you ever wanted to question if Auburn's a football or a basketball school, yesterday was the perfect time, because Auburn was beating somebody by 40 in basketball, taking their soul, ending their life, all right, in Atlanta, all right, hoops giving, the holiday classic.
Holiday hoops giving, baby.
Yeah, was absolutely just beating them to a pulp. And guess what everybody cared about? Jackson Arnold, baby, 5-star quarterback. Right? There wasn't a peep about an Auburn basketball game. There was a couple of tweets that were scattered through, and it was like, oh, yeah, we're doing this out of Ohio State. But it was everybody on there, hey, we got Jackson Arnold, like, we're going 10-2. All right, football school, never forget it.
Yeah. I hear you, buddy. But them boys on the hardwood, they are balling, man. They are doing their damn thing. Beating Ohio State like that was a whole lot of fun. Even during that game, they were bringing up the times that Auburn had played Ohio State in football. That pissed me off, man. They're talking about the 1990 Holiday Bowl. I was like, for the love of God, can we just focus on the basketball game we're kicking their ass in? We don't want to talk about football right now, please. Man, appreciate you guys. Good crowd. We'll be back Tuesday night. Members, stay on the lookout. We'll have that member pod dropping for you guys here in a little bit. Check me out over the Just a Sec pod, the War Report Gaming, Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Central Time. We'll see y'all. Love y'all. It's War Damn Eagle, baby.
War Damn.